Hi, this is Microdose U, and I'm Dr. Denise. I'm a doctor of psychology, and I got a lot of questions in the last week. And some of them are related to overall health, and some of them are specific to some women, female questions. So I want to answer those questions, and they basically fall into the category of can I microdose psilocybin and LSD when this is also going on in my life? Some medications or some particular events that are happening in a person's life. So there's just a few of them, and I'm going to get right into it. So the first one is I've been getting a lot of questions about the use of psychedelics, again, psilocybin, LSD, microdosing with the GLP-1 medication. These are the weight loss medications. I'm sure you've heard about them. You may be taking them. And oftentimes you hear people say the shots, right? So most people are doing the shots. There's oral meds, etc. And they fall into, you'll hear about Ozempic, you'll hear about tirzepatide, Zepbound. They're slightly different. The one that seems to be more current is the Zepbound one. I guess it's a little more effective, a little less side effects. And by the way, just interestingly enough, given that this is Microdose U, there's a lot about microdosing those medications and that they're effective at a microdose level. This podcast is not about the GLP-1 medicines, but it's interesting to me that microdosing these medicines is starting to show the side effects should be less. Not always the case, but with GLP-1s tends to be. And then particularly with the Zepbound class of these GLP-1s, there seems to be the ability to then stop taking it. So you'll hear things like, oh, if you start taking that, you'll be on it for life. And again, this is not an episode on those. That may in fact be true. And as we always say, everyone is different. And I'm here to tell you some trends and answer some questions. Always talk to your doctor. This is not meant to be medical advice. And yet, I want to let you know some of the things that we're learning and hearing, particularly since I'm getting questions. So a lot of questions about the GLP-1s and microdosing psychedelics. So the trend in general is those medications slow the emptying of your stomach. So basically, it's slowing digestion down. So it's like your food stays in your stomach a little longer. It takes a little while longer for it to digest. So in general, the trend is that people are going to reduce their dose because they feel it may be too much. So let's say you were taking 150 milligrams of psilocybin. And then this is what I'm particularly interested in. And then you start the GLP-1s that bound something of that nature. A lot of people, the vast majority of people, are reporting that their dose they feel it a little bit more. Again, these are microdoses, so it's not like you're going to be tripping. You just may feel it a little bit more. And so you could reduce, again, experiment a little. You could reduce the microdose of psilocybin. And I'll say the same thing for LSD. So those of you who have worked with us know what I'm talking about with the LSD. It's a tiny speck of medicine. We're talking about micrograms, 10, 20 micrograms. It's a very small amount, which is why it's so important to know what you're doing. Even with the microdosing of the LSD and then people starting the GLP-1 medications, they're feeling their microdose a little more. Again, it's not like you're suddenly going to be like super trippy or high or whatever word makes sense for you. You just may back off the dose a little bit. Now, that's not going to be the case for every single person, but I would say the large majority. So you can reduce that dose. Now, if it's the opposite, if you've been on GLP-1 medicines for a while and you're new to microdosing, you'll still start at with psilocybin, maybe you'll start at 50 milligrams and you'll see how that is. You may feel a lower dose than if you weren't. And so you go up. We always say go slow, increase very small amounts. So start at 50 perhaps if you're on a GLP-1. If you think that maybe your dose is too low, then go up. You can go up to 100. You'll know, and you go up in increments, generally 50 milligrams. With the LSD, if you're already on the GLP-1s and then you add the LSD, 100%, I would say start with one spray. One spray has 10 micrograms. It's a tiny bit. You want to see how you're going to respond. Again, it's not about that you're going to be tripping and it's going to be like really crazy. You just want to kind of feel your way through it. I'm somebody who really enjoys learning about and savoring a glass of wine. So, yeah, I could have a glass or two of wine very easily, say 20 years ago. Now I have a little tiny bit. I feel it more, which is common for a lot of people as you go up in the lifespan, where particularly women and a small woman, as I am, you might feel it even more. So, and while I'm on the alcohol, this just occurred to me. I wasn't planning on talking about this. When you are microdosing psilocybin, LSD, and if you want to have a little wine or some alcohol because you enjoy that, you're going to, again, the trend, you're going to notice that you feel the alcohol at a smaller amount. So again, a glass of wine, if you microdose that day and then you have a glass of wine, you're going to feel that one glass a little bit more. So I'm always very cautious and exercise and recommend very strongly that if you are new to microdosing and you're someone who likes to have a glass of wine with dinner, have a half a glass. Just see how it is and slow. It's always good to savor your glass of wine, for example, if that's what you like. And I would savor it very slowly. Have a sip, let it sit there for a while, see how it is. I noticed just my personal experience when I started microdosing about 5+ years ago at this point. I had a glass of wine and I knew this. I knew to exercise caution, and I was having my dinner and I had microdosed a few hours before. And I poured myself a glass of wine, the regular 5 ounces of wine, small glass of wine. And I took maybe a sip or two. And then I was probably got up, I was doing something, and I felt that I had maybe had the whole glass of wine. And I turned around because I was like, how much? Wow, I drank that whole glass already. And I looked and it was still full pretty much because I had 2 sips. So again, I wasn't like suddenly feeling drunk, intoxicated, or high. I just noticed it. So you want to really be going slow with these kinds of things. So GLP-1, just you back off your dose in general, whether it's something that you've been doing all along and then you're adding the microdosing, you're going to start at a lower, maybe you start more toward the 50 with the psilocybin and the 10 micrograms with the LSD. If you are someone who's been microdosing for a long time and then add the GLP, those are the questions I'm getting. A lot of people who were microdosing and now they're newly taking GLP-1s, you are going to find that you're probably going to back that dose down just a little bit due to the slow metabolism. We'll just call it slower emptying of your stomach. That's the GLP-1s. Next, I want to talk about.
Hey, how you doing, y'all? I'm Reverend Knight, and we're just taking a real quick break. We'll be back in just a couple seconds, but I just wanted to share with you, Dr. Dave puts his heart and soul into every episode into helping people all over the world feel better from depression, anxiety, PTSD, and so many more things. He's been doing this for almost 5 years right now, and every episode he does, he just wants to help one person. If he helps one person, that's his dream, but I think he's helping a lot more than one person, to be honest with you. So I just wanted to share a few things you can do with him in addition to listening or watching his podcast. For example, he's got that Patreon group, which is fantastic. I'm there all the time. We got a good group of people there that we all try to help each other out. We got live meetings, and also not only that, but we got a chat going all the time on the WhatsApp platform, basically 24/7, where you want a question answered, you got your question answered, because we got people that are answering and monitoring all the time. And most importantly, I shouldn't say most importantly, but very importantly, a lot of you all are looking for a good place to get your medicine that's safe, that's good, they're not going to get ripped off, and you know it's going to work out really well. Well, the only place we talk about that is on the Patreon platform. So it's another reason to join us over there. We all love you all, and it's just a great place to be. The links are always in the show notes and on Dr. Dave's website, microdoseu.com. It's microdose with just a little U on the end of it, microdoseu.com. You join us on Patreon. By the way, he's got a 5+ part free introductory course to Beginner's Guide to Microdosing Safely. Again, that's in the links in the show notes or on the website. It's Beginner's Guide. It's totally free. It's by email. You don't have to talk to anybody if you don't want to. It's all there for you. So let's get right back into the podcast, dear.
Next, I want to talk about and this is for women. Oftentimes in perimenopause, menopause, women may be taking hormone replacement therapy. And if that is, you are going to, in general, again, the trend, if you are microdosing and then your doctor puts you on a hormone replacement therapy, you're going to probably back down that microdose. Same thing as GLP-1s for a different reason. The hormone replacement therapy kind of, I'm trying to think how to say this, it makes you more sensitive. You feel the psilocybin and the LSD microdoses a little bit more. So same thing, you're going to back that off, back that dose down a little bit. If you have been on hormone replacement therapy and you're newly adding microdosing psychedelics, you're going to, again, just like with the GLP-1, start at a lower dose. Start at the 50 milligrams for the psilocybin and the 10 micrograms if you're also someone who's using microdoses of LSD. So it's both, it's for different reasons, but the same general approach. That's the trend. The next question, this was a great question, and it came after the last episode, which I was an additional Every Woman's Guide to Microdosing. And I got a question after that I actually didn't address. I have to apologize. I thought I addressed kind of like Every Woman's Guide to Microdosing, and I realized I left out a very important part, a very important group of women, and that is women who are breastfeeding. So this is a question I get a lot. Can I microdose while I'm breastfeeding? Is it safe? Let me answer that question first. So microdosing, both psilocybin and LSD, they are extremely safe medicines. I know that's not what we've been taught. I know that you'll not hear that from your doctor most likely. And I understand that. And as I always say, if somebody has any concerns, then don't take it. Wait until you're no longer breastfeeding. There's no reason to push it and then worry or feel like you've done something. Again, not medical advice, but I can tell you, women have been using all kinds of psychedelics and even at higher doses in it for 10,000 years at least. Through cultures, through lots of time, way before modern medicine, women were using psychedelics to assist during pregnancy, during childbirth, during breastfeeding, especially like postpartum depression, which is feeling just very, very depressed, and it can vary. And someone with a severe case of postpartum depression might just not even feel a connection to their child and just really having a very difficult time. And it's hormonal. It's absolutely what happens postpartum after the child is born. So again, if you are a breastfeeding mom and you have been microdosing, again, that's perfectly fine and safe. No doctor's probably going to tell you that. I'll tell you that. Lots maybe of other shaman and doctors in other cultures will say absolutely. In fact, they'll recommend it, believe it or not. That will be the first line of medicine for issues related to pregnancy and postpartum, and that it's good. It does go through the breast milk, and that's helpful. So I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm just telling you what we hear, what we have been led, the information from 10,000 years of women doing this. So, and here's the other part, the research. We're not going to have research on this because in order to do research, a really good study to control the variables, they actually have to get breastfeeding women to agree to take these medicines and then be part of the study. And that kind of a study in our mainstream culture is not going to be approved. Hopefully, maybe someday. And yet right now that would be difficult to get that approved because where we are in, especially Western medicine, is this idea, very incorrectly, that psilocybin, LSD are addictive, there's no medical value, and they're unsafe, they're dangerous. It's not true at all. And when this comes up in conversations, I will tell you what I say. I say all of this, and then I also say, why would somebody be microdosing? Why would they be doing that at any point in pregnancy, at postpartum, and breastfeeding time? What are the issues? Are they super depressed and not even feel like taking care of their child? Are they going to take other kinds of medicines, antidepressants? It's, again, antidepressants, there's the ones that are safe. OBGYNs will tell you these are safe during pregnancy, these are safe during breastfeeding. It's okay. It's interesting to me how they did those studies. Sometimes I'm curious how they were able to research those kinds of protocols, and mostly it's not on women. It's not on the actual human. Oftentimes it's on mice, and that's the extrapolate. So we're different than mice, and yet it's good to research that way. And then you're not risking females, but you can't ask mice about things, and we are different than mice. So it's a little kind of, there's a question, does it really extend? But that's how drugs get approved for lots of things, not just antidepressants, or now we're seeing psychedelic research for depression and end of life, people who have a terminal illness. They're really counting all that data. They're really looking at all that data because they can. A hard, really controlled study on pregnant women, breastfeeding women, postpartum depression women, that's probably going to be a little trickier. So that's why we go by the real world data. When you have, say, 10,000 years of cultures worldwide saying that this helped and there's no complications, and that these medicines are not, nobody's dying from them, they're safe. There's a lot of myths about if they're dangerous or not, and they're not. And there's a lot of extrapolations. Well, this particular medicine might be, then this also, psilocybin and LSD must also be, because this causes that. We're going to say this does too, out of an abundance of caution. Again, I will restate, never take anything that you don't feel comfortable taking. If you don't feel you want to microdose while you're breastfeeding, don't. There's no reason to even worry about, is this okay? Is it not okay? I don't know. I don't know. Just wait. At some point, you won't be breastfeeding. And there's lots of other things you can do that will be helpful if you have those particular issues. So reach out to me. I will be happy to answer. I love the questions. Please join Patreon. And there is where I'm going to ask you, either message me through Microdose U, or if you are on Patreon, which I hope you are, and you can have a live conversation. A lot of these questions come up there. What I'm actually wanting to hear specifically is because I want to check out the trend I'm seeing and hearing. We have a lot of people on Patreon. So if you are someone who is watching, if you're watching this and you're not on Patreon, go ahead and join Patreon, and then you can weigh in on this question. I would like a little bit of input on this. And if you're not going to do that, you can directly message us here at Microdose U. So here's the little assignment question I have. If you are someone who is taking GLP-1 medicines and you are microdosing, regardless of which one came first, have you noticed that you feel that microdose at lower dosages than maybe what you've heard? I'm really curious. That is the trend, but I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear your story, and if you have any questions, and I'd love to answer those questions for you. So I'd like the episodes to really have value for you. Okay, thanks, and I will see you soon.